We start our broadcast tonight by getting you key excerpts from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's much spoken about T-Day address. The opposition called it a political stunt, an attempt to indoctrinate young India. But the Prime Minister was statesmanlike, opening up in an interactive address which students, many of whom I discovered, hadn't even heard the Prime Minister speak ever. This was their first speech. This was the first opportunity when they'd heard Narendra Modi speak, and the children were wowed, taken in by the story of a young man who rose from the platforms of Vadnagar to become India's Prime Minister. We will get young students to rank and rate the PM speech on Teachers' Day, but before that, let's just get you some key excerpts.
देश के सभी शिक्षकों को मैं प्रणाम करता हूं, शुभकामनाएं देता हूं।
Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, transformed into Narendra Modi, the headmaster on Teachers' Day.
कोई स्कूल ऐसी न हो कि जहां बालिकाओं के लिए अलग टॉयलेट ना हो। आज कई स्कूल ऐसी हैं जहां बालिकाओं के लिए टॉयलेट नहीं है। कुछ स्कूल ऐसी हैं जहां बालक के लिए भी नहीं, बालिका के लिए भी नहीं है। मुझे हर स्कूल से मदद चाहिए। एक माहौल बनना चाहिए। परिस्थितियां किसी को भी रोक पाती हैं, नहीं रोकती।
He addressed children directly, talking their language.
आप लोगों को वो आदत है कि नहीं, बजा पता नहीं, हर काम गूगल गुरु करता है। कोई भी सवाल है, गूगल गुरु के पास चले जाओ। इंफॉर्मेशन तो मिल जाती है, ज्ञान नहीं मिलता। अच्छा, आप में से कितने बालक हैं जिनको दिन में 4 बार भरपूर पसीना निकलता है शरीर में से?
It was a charm offensive on future voters of epic proportions. The students caught a glimpse of Modi, the friendly uncle, the school principal, the technology buff and the prankster.
कोई बालक हो सकता है कि ऐसा जो शरारत न करता हो। मैं भी शरारत करता था। मैं एक बता दूं कैसी। लोग शादी में खड़े होते हैं तो कोई भी 2 लोग खड़े हैं, कोई लेडी एंड जेंट्स, तो उनके पीछे कपड़े पकड़ के स्टेपलर लगा देते हैं। फिर भाग जाते थे। आप कल्पना कर सकते हो क्या होता होगा वहां।
Through his speech, he imparted life lessons to students, from cleanliness to reading to not growing up too fast. He inspired the students to serve the country while asking them to dream big. Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
I spent the afternoon at one of Delhi's top schools listening to the Prime Minister's address along with a bunch of school students from the 8th standard till the 12th. Many of them, I discovered, hadn't heard the Prime Minister speak before this. Initially, they were very apprehensive, wondering what the fuss was all about. But as Modi opened up, especially during the Q&A, they got more and more charged up, listening to the Prime Minister and wondering how they too could contribute to the nation-building process. Here are some young minds, India's future, commenting on what they made of the Prime Minister's first and historic Teachers' Day address.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivered what was a historic Teachers' Day speech. But what did young India think of their Prime Minister's address? We're at the Vasant Valley School. We've got lots of students, slightly tired at the end of a very long day. They've been here since the morning, and this speech was a long speech. So let's find out from students what they thought. Who do I start with? Okay, you want to have a go. Right, tell us. The Prime Minister spoke for about an hour and a half. Several questions were asked. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I was extremely surprised because I was looking forward to a 2-hour speech, but it ended up being a completely interactive session. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. And I did expect us to all sit here and not out of will. But it turned out to be a great experience because there were a lot of questions that were posed and everyone answered them, and it was a great session. But I think there was this one question that was asked, what is the advantage of talking to the youth today? And I think Mr. Modi sort of evaded that question. So well, if this can reach to him, it would be something I'd like to know.
No, but he also said that he didn't think of it as something which would be an advantage to him. He said that he's doing this because he wants to reach out to young India and to speak to them. What did you think of all that, Prime Minister Modi?
I think he brought up a lot of sensitive issues which are good, like education for girls, toilets for girls, and I think that it's good that he's starting at the grassroots level, which is something that I haven't really seen our government do before. So I'm really happy that he's brought up these issues into the limelight and he's working on them.
Okay, did the speech live up to your expectations, or do you thought it was a bore, or were you inspired to hear the Prime Minister?
No, I thought that it was much better than I expected it to be, and I thought that he was definitely making it in a way that it actually felt like he was talking to us. So in that way, it was pretty inspiring, I feel.
And one thing that I really liked was the fact that there were a lot of government schools which were involved. Now, usually the private schools are highly privileged and have all the amenities which government schools don't. Here was a Prime Minister, and he had these very young kids, some of whom might not be as confident as all of you sitting over here, but got the opportunity to speak before the Prime Minister, and that by itself is big deal.
Yeah, I mean, the way he's actually done this, and he's tried to basically involve the whole of the country, is basically watching the whole thing. Is actually, I mean, you've never seen this before, and you know how he's trying to, as you said earlier, I mean, try to go to the grassroots level. This has not been done before, and now it's been like, it's something very new, and obviously it's going to work for sure.
Okay. I want to go back and speak to some of the other young students who've been listening and try and get a sense of what you made of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address.
I think he did bring up good issues which should happen, that educating the girl child, saving the environment, which are maybe not very prominent in India. Even though we're learning about it, we take it a little lightly, but I think it's now our job to take it a little more seriously and not, you know, think that, oh, ho jayega, it will happen, but it's a very serious issue in India.
You feel this speech or what Prime Minister Modi is suggesting in some way inspires you to see how you can contribute back to this country?
Yes, I think growing up, I would love to do something that would actually, you know, start, join an NGO, go and educate some, even one or two, but that would, I think, contribute to the nation.
Okay, let's see what some of the teachers made of this. Who do I come to? Ma'am, what did you make of this? Because this is supposed to be the big day for teachers, and the Prime Minister decided today that he's teacher-in-chief of all of India. What did you make of the Prime Minister's address?
Well, the Prime Minister's address, the way it was conducted was very inspiring, and to get the entire nation to listen to it and see, you know, students from Imphal and Thiruvananthapuram and everyone getting on live. So it's a big learning exercise for them, and also I think for the privileged students that are sitting here to kind of have an interactive session and watch that interactive session was good. As far as the teachers are concerned, I think he kind of evaded some issues which we as teachers were expecting.
What do you think he evaded?
Not exactly evaded, but he could have brought up the issues in a more concrete manner as far as the teachers are concerned, because somewhere in the beginning of the speech he started by saying that, you know, why is it that young children do not want to become teachers? And
why do you think young children don't want to be?
Well, I think the young children should answer that why do they not want to become teachers?
Okay, let me ask some young children, if you don't mind being called children, that is, of course. Would you ever, I mean, I know people want to be brokers, economists, MBAs. Do you want to be a teacher?
No.
Why not?
I mean, I would never want to be I mean, I wouldn't mind.
You have to go back to class Monday mornings, remember that?
But I wouldn't mind like teaching someone, but not like being in this kind of environment, like having being in a classroom and all. But I wouldn't mind teaching someone like one-on-one, like some skill, but not like this, like not in a classroom.
Would you like to be a teacher?
Probably not.
Why not?
I mean, you do want to teach people and educate people, and you want to share knowledge, but in a situation like this, I mean, we see how we treat our teachers and how other people treat our...
You're saying you don't treat your teachers well?
No, I do.
You just said that, kind of.
I do, but there are people who don't, and sometimes some people don't respect their teachers, and I mean, it's not a good thing. And you wouldn't want to stand up in front of a class and be treated like that. So.
But that's important. I think one thing that we've established here is that teaching in India, ma'am, is not as high profile an industry or as high profile a profession as it is, say, in the United States. A, why do you think that's the case? And do you think that the Prime Minister speaking to teachers, to young kids, in some way brings out the importance of being?
I don't think he kind of spoke anything much about the teachers as such. It would have been nice because he said something to the effect that I would want to be a doctor. I couldn't become a doctor, so I became a teacher. So that was something not nice, because it's not that all of us have become teachers because we couldn't become something else. You know, so I think he could have spoken something.
No, but today is Teachers' Day. And what do you think? You know, we just spoke to two people and they said they don't want to be teachers. What do you think the Prime Minister could do or the government could do to try and make teaching a more attractive profession?
Looking at what the PM just said, I feel that today, from the group of students present over here, even if one goes back with this decision made that yes, I would like to be a teacher and contribute to the future building of the nation, I think the PM has done a fantastic.
Okay, let me then put that question up. Is there any one person sitting over here who feels at the end of the Prime Minister's speech that he wants to go back and be a teacher? Wants to? Oh, there he is. Can we have a round of applause for her, please? And can I find a way of squeezing my way in? All right, so you say that you want to be a teacher, and this is not just a response because you want some claps, right? Okay, why do you want to be a teacher?
I think that being a teacher is the most noble thing you can be, because you're passing on a skill to someone else and you're doing it for someone else's benefit. It's not your benefit, and it's the best thing when you have passion in teaching. So, like, I really think that it's a very noble thing.
And do you think the Prime Minister speaking on Teachers' Day makes teachers feel special?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Can we have a round of applause for her, please? Thank you. I want to go in the front. We've got some hands of some people who've put up their hands right there. So tell us, what did you think of the Prime Minister's speech?
What I thought was he brought about some interesting issues.
What was interesting?
He brought about the education of the girl child and cleanliness and discipline, which is very, very important. But one thing which he didn't bring about was the change in the education system in India, which has so many loopholes, which has so much trouble. And also the curriculum needs to be tweaked a little bit, but he didn't speak about that, so hopefully he will do that.
So if the Prime Minister were to suggest next year that he wants to do this again, will you all show up?
Yes.
Okay, can we have a show of hands, please? How many think that they will come again next year voluntarily? The principal standing there, but that's not the reason why you'll come, because you heard the Prime Minister reach out to you and you felt his appeal and would like to come back next year. Can we have a show of hands? How many wouldn't want to show up next year unless it's compulsory? So I think there are, several of you didn't put up your hand on either. I mean, that's not allowed, is it? How many didn't put up your hand on either of those two? You know, you don't have a don't know, can't say. Okay, everyone claims that they put up their hand. I think more people said that they would like to show up. I want to go across here and understand from you what you thought of. You're obviously a very, very studious student, because you got so and most of your writing, most of his writing happens on his trousers for some reason. Yes. What did you think of the Prime Minister?
No, I want to bring up something you spoke about before, and I'm sorry for bringing it up again. And you said, why us children, we don't want to become teachers. And I just want to say that, you know, since class 6, since class 7, we're being not forced, because people have a broader mind now, but we've always been asked, buddy, okay, kya karoge? What are you going to do? And, you know, people have these vague expressions on their face when we say, for example, anything other than, I'm not saying engineer, doctor, but anything that you feel is it's not accepted in society. And we feel, it feels like the society, like when you ask, it doesn't feel like the society is supporting us in becoming teachers, because they don't give us the, and also you, as you said before, that it's not a high level job being a teacher. And I love and respect all my teachers because they give me the values that I have, and and I really respect them for what they do, and they taught me a lot. But everybody, and I can guarantee everybody wants to become something and, you know, get their name there out and show who they are. And in India, at least, teachers aren't given that level of recognition, and they should be, honestly, I feel, but they aren't. So I guess that's why people don't want to become a teacher in India, and that's what I wanted to say to you, because...
But this is important. The fact that we're probably on live television having a discussion on teachers and their contribution to society, possibly for the first time, because this usually, and if I can go across to the principal, is a calendar event, ma'am. Do you want to come here? Do you want to come here? Do the students want to give her a round of applause, please? Yes, because we've seen we've seen that teachers, ma'am, that teaching as a profession, as is established, and from what the students are saying as well, isn't given the same sort of importance as, say, somebody being an MBA or a doctor or an engineer. Do you think a speech like this and focus on this issue changes that to some extent?
I don't think so. I don't think just lip service to saying that teaching as a profession is a noble one and more young people should come into teaching is going to change things dramatically in our country. He has to do something more concrete to make teaching a more attractive proposition to the children. And
the loudest round of applause is always reserved for the principal. Yes. What would you like to see the Prime Minister do?
We need to ask ourselves some very critical questions as to why isn't teaching an attractive proposition. As Abhiraj over here said, that I respect my teachers, but there are things beyond just respect from students which will bring young people into this profession, and a large part of that would be monetary returns from the profession. And teachers have been paid the lowest salaries across the world, not only in India. It is not something which is typical to our country. If you look at teachers, except with the exception of the Scandinavian countries where Norway, Finland, Sweden are doing so well in education, because teachers over there, teaching as a profession is a sought after profession, unlike in India or even in the United States of America or in some other parts of the world. So we have to change the economics behind the profession, and then perhaps things will change.
Okay, great, but I hope the fact that there is focus on this is possibly the first step in that direction. What do you think of Prime Minister Modi, his speech, and the manner in which he tried to reach out?
Right. So, firstly, I sat here thinking that it'll be a 2-hour-long lecture on what he...
Thank God it wasn't, huh?
Thank God it wasn't. So, I thought he'll talk about his policies, what he plans to do. But, again, like it's been brought up, I was pleasantly surprised that it was an interactive session. So, he actually kind of opened up to his life experiences also. He gave a lot of insight into Narendra Modi as a person, which I personally really liked. And I really felt that he could have put across a lot more in actually the policy per se, because as children, we only read in newspapers and we can say that, oh, he said this, he might do this. Maybe he could have come across a little more frankly and said that I am going to do this and this is what I plan to do in my term as Prime Minister.
What do you think of Prime Minister Modi? Were you impressed? Have you been impressed by him before this? And what do you think of his speech?
I actually have been impressed by him, especially when this isn't the first speech I've heard of his. I heard, in fact, one of his speeches when he was giving a rally in his election campaign, and the way he could motivate the people. The people were literally, when he came, they were saying, "Is baar Modi Sarkar," but after he left, you could just hear them from miles away screaming it out, and that just showed that he was able to, even if he wasn't so... he hadn't influenced them so much. By the time he left, he was able to get his points across and actually interact with everyone in that party, like that. Yeah.
What do you think of Prime Minister?
I was judging this. I think it was too vague. It wasn't too concrete, but it's a start. It's not. Things aren't going to happen overnight, and he's just been like a PM for like 100 days. So I think we need to give it time for him to be more concrete and give him the chance to also know what he wants to do, because I mean, making a decision for 1.2 billion people is a lot. So I don't blame him.
One young kid asked the Prime Minister how he could be the PM, right? And he said, wait till 2024 because till then the seat's taken. How many of you, if were to be given an opportunity, on the basis of what you've just heard, would like to vote for Prime Minister Modi? Very few hands. Oh, now they're going up, by and by. Quite a few hands. So do you think that he emerges in some senses, despite being 63, as a youth icon much more than, say, Rahul Gandhi?
Yeah, in a way, yeah, because Rahul Gandhi doesn't reach out to the youth even though he's younger than him. And I think age is it doesn't matter. Like, if you can reach out to the youth, so I think I will vote for him.
Rahul Gandhi made a speech in Amethi. He was speaking to some students as well on Teachers' Day. I don't know if he thought of it himself or because Modi was doing it, he decided to do it himself. But he said that Modi is like Hitler, right? So he said that, you've got students, somebody becomes a Gandhi, somebody becomes a Hitler, depending on who your teacher is and what they teach you. How do you compare, say, a Modi with a Rahul Gandhi, who's actually much younger and should ideally be a bigger icon to all?
I think that if you can relate to the youth, then I think that that's more important at this point in time, because on Teachers' Day we're talking about someone who's being able to talk to the youth and associate himself with the youth. But Rahul Gandhi, I feel that he kind of I don't want to be politically incorrect, but he put himself up on a very high horse, and he was like a, you know, superior person to everybody else. So if it's like you're up there and you can't relate to anybody else, then I really doubt that people are going to consider you as a youth icon or be able to, you know, think of you as someone they want to be.
Prime Minister Modi spoke of the need of bringing young people into the whole process of governing India. He wants youngsters to contribute to governing India. When I was growing up, everyone around me was only interested in themselves, frankly. Yeah? Their careers, their jobs, their families, their life. Do you think that by initiatives such as that, the one that we've just seen, that changes to some extent? Or are you also as obsessively keen on ensuring your own growth as opposed to nation building?
Yeah, I mean, after Prime Minister's speech, it has actually changed my thought process.
In what way?
I mean, people keep saying that, you know, you are the youth of India and you decide the future of India and all. But we've never really indulged in the deeper meaning of this. But after Narendra Modi actually spoke about it in detail, I actually understand that how important we as youth for India actually is. So,
okay. Everyone's had a very long day, and it's been a very deep day as well, talking about issues which you usually would gloss over. And I'm told that there are some very hot, nice samosas waiting for all of us. So let's end this, and thank you all so much for joining us on this Teachers' Day special. And to all those who teach over here at this school and taught us and everyone watching this broadcast, happy Teachers' Day. Thank you.